everyone. Welcome to another Legal Tidbits session. I'm here today with members of our healthcare and life sciences industry group. And today we want to talk to you about another interesting topic, a very up and coming topic, which is very relevant to today. As we can see from our background, we're going to be talking about the use of cannabis and hemp and the legalization and relaxation of the rules related to the use of cannabis and hemp in other industries. In the first instance, maybe we can just have an overview of where the situation is now.
Thank you, Michael. Very interesting and very trendy indeed. We just like to perhaps, may I say, give you some very high overview at this time. And hopefully later we can talk more about other requirements. The law itself, is, generally speaking, when you compare to other types of legislations in these medical related areas, very complex in the sense that it has been liberalized, if you like, from Narcotic Act. And as the name suggests, everyone have to be quite alert, both policy maker, government authorities, those who now got liberalized and be able to involve in the potential research and development as well as commercial opportunities. Now, I suppose with this, we probably like to hear some more from Carlo about what exactly in general view, of course, we can do, especially for the cannabis side, focusing in the medical purposes products only, because this is only purpose that allowed by Thai law so far. Would you like to pick this up?
Yes, sure. Happy to do that. I think a lot of people would have heard, a lot of developments in the news with respect to the laws on cannabis, a lot of companies wanting to get into this space. And I think just the point that I want to make first off is, I think we do see the developments. We do see a lot more relaxation now compared to, say, a year or two ago. The law is a lot more, concrete. There's a lot more implementing regulations in place now that are meant to implement the intentions of the legislators when they first relax this requirement. And so, with cannabis, as Kumpirapan said, it's still medical and R&D. But with hemp, I think there's more room for private companies to participate in the business. But increasing so for cannabis as well. We've seen some draft legislations and discussions that are going on to essentially allow more private participation in the medical cannabis area, whether it be modern drug licensed producers. But this is in the pipeline, and it's interesting that the law is moving from initially just allowing government entities to participate in the space to potentially considering extending this area, to allow private companies to engage in this related business as well.
Yeah, so I think what Taro said is very interesting, that, even though we were seeing a lot more relaxation and liberalization, there is still the regulatory framework that needs to be understood as well when we're entering this market, because I think, we're very well aware that these products, mostly their use in health products. So the concerns regarding safety and efficacy are still there. So maybe I think we can talk a little bit on the regulatory regime that may be applicable to the importation or the manufacture or the use of these types of products.
Yeah, I suppose on this point, Jan, you probably like to elaborate a little bit, just pick up from what Taro mentioned earlier.
Yes, thank you, KPP. As Taro mentioned earlier, the relaxation and the removal of certain parts or extracts of cannabis and hemp will allow these plants to be utilized for various purposes, including allow more commercial opportunities. Speaking of the license, it will also be important to highlight that currently the manufacturing, import and export of cannabis, which are still regulated as narcotics, are allowed for medical or research and development purpose only, and can be done by a licensed government entity or in collaboration with a government entity. When compared to the regulations on hemp, it appears that the regulations on hemp are more relaxed from regulations on cannabis. Hemp-related activities are allowed for various purposes, including the medical use or the manufacturing of healthcare products, such as herbal products, foods, and cosmetics. In addition, The legal framework currently allows Thai companies to apply for the license to engage in hemp-related activities, ranging from growing, extraction, to import, export, or sale of hemp without needing to collaborate with the government entity. In any case, business operators will need to ensure that they obtain the license required for the cannabis or hemp business prior to doing so.
Yes, just to add to Jan's comment, the FDA has a lot of regulations and rules to apply for health products in areas of herbal products, food supplements, some other types of foods, and also cosmetics containing cannabis and hemp that are not considered as narcotic substances. So right now, there are some products, health products, that have been registered or notified to the Thai FDA, such as some type of cosmetics or in pipeline or some types of food supplement. In any case, the business operators cannot make claims other than cosmetic or food definition. So basically, there's no claim on prevent, treatment, and cure of diseases.
So, I mean, it looks like as though the FDA or, the Ministry of Public Health has very clear guidelines regarding these matters. And I think it looks like the trend is to increase relaxation. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Actually, hemp and cannabis is one of the first priority activities that the FDA has set out. So we have seen a lot of regulations, or many regulations came out during the past few months. So, and we expect that there will be more regulations coming out to facilitate the business operators to have more products in the market.
Yeah, you're quite right. It seems that the marketplace has been very, very active indeed. And according to the press release that the FDA just gave, I think last week, about 324 applicants already applied to become the authorized grower of the cannabis/hemp. And I suppose this would allow various opportunities, and I'd like to just ask Thalo about what we have seen in the marketplace. Given the atmosphere, the legal atmosphere is very accommodating.
Yeah, sure. Happy to comment on that. I think, we're seeing a lot more M&A activities and investment activities in this space. I read a research by one of the big Thai banks conducting market research on this, and they were expecting, very big numbers and forecasts in terms of, the global cannabis business as well as the local cannabis business. But of course, focusing in particular on hemp. And there is a big forecast. And I think that reflects a general investment attitude in the country and from overseas investors as well, actually. So we're seeing a lot of Thai conglomerates actually diversifying, trying to invest into the cannabis and hemp business. Also seeing a lot of interest from private equity, from overseas health companies wanting to invest in medical cannabis as well. So I think, towards the end of this year and of course next year, I think there will be a pickup of M&A investment activities in this space, definitely.
And I think, that's also the trend outside of Thailand, right? Because we're seeing, a lot of the market players, particularly the big players in the US, the UK, and Canada, relaxing their rules as well, and they're establishing a very well-defined market in these countries as well.
Yes, that's right. I think the rules and regime in each country is a bit different. With Canada, it's all relaxed, so recreational use is allowed, and there's market for that. In the US, it's only in certain states. At the federal level, it's still not liberalized. So there are some nuances in that, but I think the trend generally is towards more relaxation, and encouragement of more investments in this area. So I think that M&A investment trend abroad reflects what's going on in Thailand as well. And it's very interesting as well as we see big sort of tobacco companies that are trying to diversify to the space, seeing it sort of an ESG move, an attempt to find more health conscious alternatives to provide to the consumers. So I think part of that is also, fueling the demand for investment and M&A activity in this space as well. So very interesting developments from both overseas and locally.
Perhaps Prim and Jan can comment very briefly about whether or not it's possible to import seeds. If not, what actually the law allows, and how about the finished product, just to ensure that you don't get yourself mixed up in some of these various law and regulation, and especially this time has been so many of them has been issued during the past just 12 months, as Prim said. So maybe you separate first between hemp and cannabis.
With respect to the classification of cannabis and hemp, the regulations differentiate cannabis and hemp by its THC contained in these plants, and the cannabis are defined as having more THC than hemp plants. With respect to the import, regulations right now allow import of hemp, only the hemp seed to be utilized and to be sold in the country. However, for other parts, such as the CBD, the extracts of hemp, currently during the first 5 years of the ministerial regulation on hemp, which will be effective until 2024, the import of other parts of hemp will be allowed for only the research and and development purpose only.
Yeah. Just as Nong Jan just mentioned, the plantable seeds are the only parts of cannabis and hemp that can be imported for growers. Finished products containing hemp or cannabis or any parts of hemp or cannabis cannot be imported at this time. The FDA is focusing on products made locally during this time.
Thank you, Rim. So I think maybe we maybe run out of time now. We may be able to talk about some of the other issues. I think on the flip side of the great opportunities that we're seeing, there may also be risk areas that you might want to look into, and perhaps we can talk a little bit more about those issues in our next session. Hopefully this has given you some food for thought and a good overview of the regulatory regime in Thailand. So thank you very much for joining our Legal Tidbits session. We hope to see you in our next session very soon. Thank you.